Hi, I'm the average consumer, and this is my review of The Great Gatsby.
Gatsby. I'd like to know who he is and what he does.
Gatsby? What Gatsby?
My boss.
Mr. Carraway, this is my good friend, Mr. Maya Wolfshot.
I understand you're looking for a business connection.
This is going to be a really easy, short review. There is nothing really to pick apart with this movie. It is really a very relatively basic telling of this story. And they got everything in there. Even if it made the movie a little long, they didn't cut anything, they didn't shorten anything, they got every detail they needed to tell this story in the movie. You know, the movie felt 2 hours long. I kind of don't like knowing the length of a movie going in, because then I'm kind of counting down and stuff. So I'm not sure how long this movie was, but it felt like there was a lot to it. Not long, I don't want to say long, but it felt like there was a lot of things in this story that they told. If that can, if you want to consider it a long movie, like that, the qualifications of a long movie. But it was an interesting tale. I mean, I'm not gonna say, "Oh, The Great Gatsby, what a great story." I'm not gonna say that. I had to say it for high school. I already graduated. I don't have to say it again.
I'm certainly glad to see you again.
I'm gonna focus on like the look of the movie. Like right now, everything looked 20s, like a very stylized 20s, almost like a That 20s show, like that 70s. However, there was two things I thought was kind of pandering to a young audience who probably wouldn't normally see this movie. One is the music. Instead of having like typical 1920s jazz or whatever 1920s era music, they had modern day music, which, don't get me wrong, fit in the movie perfectly. It wasn't like, it just stood out because it was modern. That's it. It's all, you just wish they used 1920s music. That's when you see a big jazz band playing and you hear modern day music, it just doesn't match. Everything else in the movie looked, 1920s era with the hats, the costumes, and the cars and the buildings, and everything else looked 1920s. And then they play modern day music. That stood out. And also, they had a couple sequences where they had cars go real fast. To me, it almost the cars were almost going too fast. For something that's existed for 20 years. I mean, I know they were supposed to be, but it felt like they were modern day fast. It felt like they were fast and furious. That stood out to me. Like I got the point, but they felt like they overdid it. Also, I didn't see it in 3D because I didn't think I had to. It's a movie based on an old book, so I felt like the 3D would have been overdone or whatever. But I was wrong. They did some great artistic stuff that would have looked great in 3D. They did this stuff with like a torn up letter and all this great imagery that would have looked great with depth and stuff. And but even if you don't see it in 3D, it still looked good. It just would have. I'm imagining it would have looked better in 3D. Just me. Maybe it's just me. So I'm not gonna focus on the story, obviously. So I'm gonna just go down the cast roster. First off, Leonardo DiCaprio. He's playing two of his favorite types of roles. One, lovelorn lover who has trouble with his love, that wants love and he can't have his lover. And two, a guy in suit. So he's playing a guy in suit who wants his love. But again, because it's a Great Gatsby, it fits. You know, because it's this old story, and he's great in it because he's done them before so many times. It just seems like it's a trend. That's all. Then you also got Tobey Maguire. Now here's my thoughts on Tobey Maguire in general. He's great in this movie. You probably could have gotten maybe someone a little bit younger to play this wide-eyed kid in this weird world. Not weird world, but this world that's opening up to him. But I'm kind of glad they went with Tobey Maguire because he's great at being a subtle actor. He's great at doing these things with his eyes and his mouth and his eyebrows and and stuff like that. But when he starts to overact, it looks weird. I mean, because the thing is, he looks like a ventriloquist dummy. So when he does, he can do, like, a ventriloquist dummy can do facial expressions if you build it right. So that's why he's good at being, like, subtle, is because it's just little things he does. And then when he overacts, it looks weird and becomes an internet meme. And then also, the actress in it was totally so good and bland, I guess. I don't want to say bland, but I just can't remember her name, so I'm just going to skip over her. I'm not even going to edit something into the video where I do remember her name, because she was fine. There was nothing worth commenting about. She did her job, but the person I do want to focus on is Joel Edgerton in this movie, because from what I just read, they could have gotten like Ben Affleck or some big name for that role, and instead it went with Joel Edgerton, who was incredible. He got to do like suave and jealousy and anger and pride and all these different emotions that he was just knocking them out of the park with one after another, and he did it in this like Cary Grant suave voice. We must go to the baseball park and watch a few dingas, and just that type of suave. And he had this little 1920s mustache, and it was just, it was almost like my favorite role because it was being done by this like actor who, like, I personally know him from like the Three Stooges TV movie and the Star Wars prequels, but he was in a couple other stuff. Yeah, get those graphics going. Yeah, that one. And none of you saw that, and I apologize to those who did. But he was just really good in it. It was like, wow, this, like, I think this is, I hope this is his breakout role, and he does more stuff. Other than that, that's pretty much all I have to say about this movie. I mean, this, sum up, obviously a great story, looked good. They got the right actors for the movie. Only complaints is modern day music, and the cars that were going way too fast. But other than that, as far as recommend and not recommend, I'm gonna give this movie a recommend in 3D. But if not, it's worth seeing on DVD. It's totally worth it, seeing once. And if you have to do a high school report on it, I'm not saying cheat. Cheating is wrong.
Why, of course you can.
I'm Joe, and that's what the average consumer thinks, old sport.